Hello, hello. Welcome to the panel on game dev education in Poland and beyond. I hope it's not the great beyond. We are a little bit late because we had just got stuck in the elevator.
Yep.
So without further ado, I'd like each of the panelists to say a few words for the sake of introduction, and then we'll get to the chase. So let's start from my left side, Piotr Napieralski. Why are you here?
Hi, I'm from Technical University of Łódź. We have a 3-degree program of technical studies in computer games. I think since 20 years we have the specialization for computer games, and we have competition for the students since 70 years. I think that's all.
Okay, Tomasz.
Cool. I'm currently studying and teaching at University of Arts London, but for pretty much majority of people here in Poland, you know me as a founder of Game Industry Conference that's taking place next week in Poznań. And yeah, I know. I also make games since '97, but that's me.
The hardcore veteran, but he represents the UK, so overseas territory. Okay, Ria, go ahead, please.
Hi to you all. I'm Gynther from Metropolia University of Applied Sciences from Helsinki, Finland. My main focus is in projects that help the game industry somehow, and many times they involve also the school connections and bridging the gap between education and the industry. And at Metropolia, it's the biggest university of applied sciences in Finland, and we have the possibility to study game design in both from the programming point of view and from the art view, especially the 3D art. We as well have a competition for Finnish students called Bit1. It's been running almost 10 years now. And we also have a few different incubator programs for the students interested in pursuing career in starting their own business within the games and the creative industries in general.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Pavel. I'm a chairman of Czech Game Developers Association. We participated in quite a few educational projects. One of them was here with Michał, called Game High Ed, that we did quite a few years ago. Now we are participating and actively working on two educational projects. One is Game Badges that Ria already mentioned. Then we are working on a Horizon project called Game ER, which is studying ecosystems of game development in various regions throughout Europe, and it's also focusing quite a lot of universities and educational system within that region. Recently, we just started acceleration program in Prague, and we are running it right now. It's 2 months in. It's a 3 months long interns course for roughly 30 students. And we will see the results. It's 10 teams. One of the teams from our program is actually presenting here. It's a game called Mo. And last thing, I'm a director of Game Dev Conference in Prague called Game Developers Session, which we've been doing for last 23 years. So it's mainly educational event.
And I used to be involved with the game studies and design degree at UKW in Bydgoszcz, Poland. For the last 2 years, I'm in Gdańsk behind a brand new project in historical game design. I worked with Pavel at an Erasmus Plus partnership uniting Polish, Turkish, Czech and Finnish organizations. But, well, the panel is mostly about my panelist, not the moderator, so I'll try to be humble. In talking points we prepared, we'd like to begin with formal education. As this festival is for students enrolled in some kind of educational programs, I would like each of you to say a few things about your national perspective, what works, what doesn't, so pains and gains of formal college level educational programs. Each of the panelists represents a different country. You've got Piotr working in Poland, Tomasz from the UK, Ria from Finland, Pavel from the Czech Republic, and they all are also active internationally, so they can compare educational systems and solutions across borders. So let's take the first round of questions. Formal education, pains and gains in Poland. What's your view?
Okay, so the first of all, it's sure that the problem is the collaboration with industry in the moment when we want that the people from industry makes courses for the students. The problem is, of course, the budget and the salaries for the people who works in business, because for the structure in our universities, the salaries are connected with the scientific titles, and we know that it's. So I think it's the problem. The win is it's sure that the companies collaborating the many fields. The first one is the research, and with our competition, they are came here and they help to students to create the project, and I think that's.
So you complained about the pains. What about achievements or good standards, models to follow? What can other systems learn from Polish universities in game dev?
May you repeat the question? Sorry.
Can you point to any good examples, achievements, models to follow that developed in the Polish educational system that can potentially inspire other countries?
Okay, so in our system, in how we work with students, it's very important that we try to work in a holistic big project with the students, so they prepare a project with collaboration with the companies, and we have 2 degrees. So in the first degree, they prepare 2 big projects. It's the game prototypes. One is mobile, and one is they create their own engine, and they create the game on their own engine. I think it's very important that we connect with our ZTGK competition, and it's put together a lot of lectures to create one big project. I think it's something interesting, and it works, and the project is, you can see some projects here in the competition also, the students, I think it works very well.
Okay, let's move on to the UK, and maybe I could add that Tomasz graduated from a bachelor and master's level in game design in England at Brunel University in London, and now he is an instructor of game design at the London College of the Arts. So he has both perspectives, as a student and as a teacher. He also knows the Polish system relatively well, so I'm interested in what you can say about the British model. Is it distinct from the continental model?
Yes, the short answer. So I'm still currently a student. I got as I'm doing my second master's degree. So in Europe, continental Europe, I imagine, as far as I know, most universities are free. They're paid by government, so students can study whatever they choose. In the US, majority of universities are commercial. You have to go into loans of tens, hundreds of thousands of US dollars. And even if you are declared bankrupt, you do not lose those loans. UK sits in between. If you're British, or used to be also when we were in the EU for EU citizens, you could take a loan that then you pay off as tax on income, and it will be written off. If you're an international student, it's commercial. Now it costs around £30,000 per year on bachelor's degree. So I would say one problem for us is price and staying competitive in the international market. Saying that, we do have some great things. We do have the oldest game design courses at Abertay in Dundee. We do have courses that do very, very well in the rookies competition, which is international competition. University of Hearts, UEL, University of Staffordshire are always in top universities for game design or VR. So we're doing some things very, very good. Also, UEL is number 2 in art and design in the world, according to QS ranking, so it's fine. We do have support from UK government, so there's a transfuser competition that enables students to set up their own businesses and get initial funding for prototypes that they can then pitch for more funding. So that's also kind of certain perk of being in UK. But on the other hand, we do have 2 trading bodies, Yuki and Taiga, which makes politics very difficult, and each of them has their own views how things should be done. So you often have to pick a camp, which kind of like trading body you associate yourself with as institution, or go independent and try to work with both, which is something we do at UAL. So there are complexities, but it's working so far.
Thank you. Ria, I will ask you about the Finnish system, but I have one leading question. An interesting case I discovered as a difference between the Polish and Finnish expectation when we worked in the Game Hyatt project was that in Poland, the industry, the students, the university expect graduates of bachelor degrees to be employable, to be ready for work. And I talked about this assumption with Rainer Koskima from Jyväskylä. He said that in Finland, they encourage students to continue into master's level education, and only after that are they expected to find employment. That was 5 years ago. Is it still the case?
It depends if the student is university student or University of Applied Sciences student. In the applied sciences field, you actually need to have few years of work experience before you can continue to the master's level. But in the university, it is such that usually we hope that the students go directly to the master's level, and after that they go on start their work life or their career.
And the basic pains and gains in the Finnish game education?
Oh, my head is filled with pains related to that topic, coming from the funding of the educational institutes and things like that. But maybe to keep it in line with this talk, the difficulty of upkeeping with the industry needs with the education, that might be one of the biggest pains, because usually the education is a little bit behind from what the industry is doing and what's happening in there. So that is for sure something that would need to be fixed somehow, and I think it's probably a universal problem everywhere. In Finland, we do have tight connection between different associations that are working around the game industry, and through those associations, the connection is easier to maintain rather than just contacting individual companies. One of these is the NeoGames, the umbrella organization of game industry in Finland that upkeeps statistics, upkeeps record of what you can study in which university, what companies are still alive, how many new companies have there been, who is making biggest money. So their reports are super valuable for the education as well. And another point is maybe that the students are very individualistic, and also, but the kind of like the basic training is kind of like compromise. So it's sometimes how can you find the interest towards the studies if you have already decided that mobile games is only thing I'm interested in, or AAA games are only thing I'm interested in. So how to sell to the students that you need to learn a little bit more in order to be specialized once you are a little bit further in your studies. Yeah, I would start with those maybe.
Thank you. And Pavel, yours is an industry view on the academia, but I'd like you to address the same question. As you see game education at Czech universities, what is missing, what they do well, what we could learn from you?
So, in recent years, in our country, we've seen quite a lot of new programs. There are right now 10 plus universities that got some game dev education, and the good thing, or generally what's good, I think they are able to teach quite well the core development skills. That's what the universities are good at. So if you're studying the technical way, you probably learn quite a good programming, even like game dev programming. If you are at art school, you can learn quite a lot of important stuff for your future career. So the core skills, that's already there, and it's working. What we, as an industry, think like it's lacking, there are like two things. One, what we don't have right now. It's very distinguished. So like the technical students studied at the university, they are together. We don't see that much cooperation. There are some exceptions, but in reality, in the future work, the game development is a lot about cooperation, and cooperation of very different people. The technical people and artistic people are very different groups of humans thinking differently, and that's usually quite an issue to solve, how these types of people can work together and understand each other. And we don't see that much at the schools, the interconnection. Also, I can expect, or I can imagine that in some more advanced countries in terms of game development education, like UK, you got like the whole university, and we see that in the movies industry. So we got the FAMU, the Film Academy, where you can study nowadays even game development. But for the movies, it's a whole range of various professions that you can study, and they are under one roof, and they are taught to cooperate. We don't see that in game development yet. You go to art school and you study the game development for art perspective. You go to technical school or computer science and stuff like that. And so that's one thing. And at least in our case, we see the second thing was a complete lack of the business approach. How the industry works, how the business works, how the market works. What does it mean to get your game on the market? How to actually work with the business people, the investors, the publishers, where to find them, how to prepare pitch deck, and all these stuff. That's in our case lacking completely at the official school system, which I don't say that's like maybe a bad thing, because we realize that maybe this shouldn't be like what the universities should be about. Maybe there should be another step, maybe some private courses or something else way they learn these things that are missing at the universities. And one of the solutions that we figured out was like, okay, we need to do it ourselves. So we started this acceleration program, where we focus very much on the business side of the game development. And we're accepting students, and we expect that they know the core skills for game development from their field of expertise. So they understand programming, they understand how to draw or create 3D model or animate it, or how to design some game mechanics. But we teach them the cooperation, and we teach them the business skills.
Thank you. Pavel already smoothly entered the second topic we'd like to discuss, namely collaboration between university programs and other stakeholders, other institutions, organizations in the environment. So one example of such collaboration is incubation/acceleration programs funded or managed by the industry. So I'd like to ask each of you about maybe your recommendations from the perspective of a university program administrator. What are the best partners I should build relations with? What kind of organizations should collaborate? And let's skip the obvious thing, like industry partners who would accept our students as interns. Everyone does that. It's super important, but it's Mr. Obvious. Okay, so an acceleration program is something worth mentioning. So maybe, Pavel, if you already started this topic, you could continue, and we do it in the reverse order.
Well, where the students meet the industry, of course, like there are some, you mentioned like internships, but there is lots of issues with that recently, I guess. Then like there are like invited lectures. It's like a basic stuff. But if you look at more something unique, so we got a couple of game jams, and they usually been run by the schools and even students and stuff like that. And in recent last 2-3 years, the company is becoming very interested in those to be present there. I mean the big ones, like let's say a couple of Warhorse people would attend the game jam in the role of mentors. And it's like not randomly, it's like officially prepared that like this company will be like backing up this game jam, providing some mentorship throughout these 2 days. And that's actually creating quite an interesting connection. The students can talk with these usually like seniors in their positions and ask them questions and help in some ways. And also the companies are looking at some promising talent and working with the students for a short period of time, but quite intensively. So this is happening. We're also doing the conference and some other events where we are trying to interconnect these two parts. So at our conference, and I guess at the Digital Dragons and GIC, it's happening as well. We are inviting quite a lot of students. We are inviting them through the school. So we approach the teachers. We give them some exhibition space. We're also doing some roundtables with them, but we're trying to put there also people from the industry so they can tell them their opinion. So these are some 2 examples.
Ria and Tomasz, I would like you to mention specifically the place of IGDA in educational systems in our country. IGDA is International Game Developers Association. We discovered that this organization has a radically different level of presence between the countries. They have very low presence in Poland and in Czechia, but they are pretty well established in Finland. And Tomasz has just attended an IGDA British meeting. So if you can share something from behind the scenes, what it looks like in the UK, I'd like to hear your voice. But Ria, go ahead first, please.
Yeah, IGDA Finland is actually one of the most active hubs in the world when considering the IGDA activities. We currently have 14 or 15 local hubs, and one of these is a remote hub operating in Minecraft, for example. So it's dedicated in organizing online events. I'm actually one of the, I have founded one of these hubs in my hometown Lahti, and I used to be the vice chair of IGDA Finland at one point. Yeah, it's super active. Monthly meetings in almost every hub, collaboration with different big events and educational institutions. And yeah, many times the smaller hubs around Finland are mainly operated with the student workforce. So when there are students who are interested in networking more deeply, they usually become IGDA actives, and during the events they have the awesome opportunity to meet the industry people who come to give lectures or are just there for their beers. Yeah.
Or a little drama. Cool. In UK, first one, Pavel, you mentioned in Czech, there's about 10 universities doing game courses. In UK, according to British Council, we have over 200 institutions, where one of them is responsible for 10% of graduates nationwide. So the scope is very different. The problem with that comes staffing. Someone may be the most amazing programmer, but they do lack people skills. So they shouldn't manage anyone, they shouldn't teach, right? So often happens that people from industry do not want to work in academia because it's a very different skill set. People who work in academia do lack technical skills, and there are difficulties like upskilling, access to funding, training schools, programs, and so forth. Saying that, we do try to have a lot of activities involving different stakeholders, like I mentioned, UK and Taiga. We do have a very strong global game jam presence, and generally game jams. I'm responsible for UK and Ireland in terms of region for Global Game Jam. Mark Brown, who runs a small YouTube channel called Game Maker Toolkit, is also from UK, and he does the biggest game jam just after Global Game Jam. I think he might take over Global Game Jam in terms of numbers. We'll see about it. With different organizations like IGDA, we had it for years, but last decade, there was nothing. It was dormant. And literally, it got restarted 3 months ago. Like, 4 amazing people decided, let us bring it in as a volunteers, try to do it again. The first meeting was yesterday. It was nice. Small gathering, few speakers, lots of people from industry, students. So we'll see where it goes. They already have plans for a game jam. They have plans for Christmas party. They have different things scheduled and planned. So hopefully that goes well. But in UK, DIGRA, which is more academic equivalent of IGDA, is very strong and very present and runs different conferences, journals, and things. So there's lots of different stakeholders, each with little piece of pie.
And the Polish perspective.
Okay, so
Let me repeat the question because you might have forgotten. And the question is, from the perspective of someone who runs university programs in game development, what kind of partnerships and collaborators you could benefit from?
okay, so we don't have the organized like here. The mostly the partnership is, of course, we have some local companies which help us and help the students to make the game jam, for example. The very good platform to connection with the business is our competitions at TGK, because it's the moment when the companies come and can see the project of the students and judge the skills and give some advice. I lose what I want to say on one.
Do you participate in any of the international programs? Tomasz mentioned Global Game Jam, maybe Games for Change.
Yes, and it's very important that students very often organize. There's a lot of students organization which create the game jams, and it's a lot. It's important that they have the initiative that they alone. Also, we help them, but don't disturb to the students. And there is a lot of organization of students that they make the game jams, and we help only to connect it with the business and to give the possibilities to make their own career.
To wrap up this part, international and intersectoral collaborations. As educators, as students, you may consider these labels. Of course, most of you, if you are here, already know about them, but just in case. Global Game Jam, this is something every country can participate in. Games for Change, another great initiative. And from the student perspective, I recommend you take a look at Games for Change Student Challenge. They are currently accepting submissions. Several organizations we discussed, like Taiga or Screen Skills, are specific to the UK, so they're not probably available. I'm thinking about IGDA, because I heard about the revival in the UK. Do we need IGDA in Poland? Tomasz said no yesterday, because we already have Indie Games Poland taking care of the industry side. We already have student clubs taking care of student activities, etc. I approached IGDA a few years ago, connecting with the games education interest group. I discovered there were just 2 people in IGDA actually caring about this initiative. On the one hand, everyone can sign up, pay the membership fee as an organization or as an individual and try to collaborate internationally through this label. But I don't know if they're still a strong brand.
I actually noticed that I just answered to the IGDA question and forgot to mention the good examples that we have in Finland with the organization collaboration. So maybe one surprising area where we collaborate is trade unions. So Finland is very highly unionized, so there are a lot of trade unions, and the world's first union for game makers was actually started in Finland. And these are usually free of charge for students, or there's a small fee that covers their whole duration of studies. And these organizations help with CV, they help with contracts. So when you get your first opportunity to work somewhere, there's lawyers that can check the contracts, and they also come and give us more lectures about kind of like the topics that are interesting. And then the other point is that in Finland there's about 17 educational institutions that provide education in the games, and the ones that are from the higher education field collaborate in a way that in the students' curriculum there is a certain amount of study points that you can select yourself from whatever interests you. And it might be that the studies you choose comes from another university. So there's a kind of like collaboration within that. And that makes it possible that, I think it was mentioned that it's sometimes hard to get lecturers from the industry, for example. So the bigger universities that have this opportunity share their content online for the other students so that they can participate even though they would be in a little bit more remote location or not the students of that particular institution.
And one last question from me concerning this international collaboration. Has any of you had any contact with the Higher Education Video Game Alliance? I believe they're pronounced HIVGA, hivga.org. They're very active in the US, a little bit in Canada, in the UK, but I haven't seen a lot or at all of their activity on the European continent. So, hivga.org. Anything you can tell me about them?
Not in our case.
They are very selective. To become a member, you have to be introduced by 2 other members. So it's hard to get in. It's kind of more a club.
So I guess the UK is represented in HIVGA.
There are very few people, yeah. Very few. I'm not one of them, so can't say much more.
That sounds like a secret association or some kind of a brotherhood.
All right, let's move on to the next topic, but it will be a very quick teaser trailer. One successful example of collaboration between universities, game industry organization, which is Pavel, and also government agencies, administrations, certification bodies, is the Game Badges project. Ria will have a separate talk on Game Badges in 2 hours or so, so let's not spend much time during this panel, but nonetheless, I'd like you to say a few words from the industry and academic perspective. Tell us about this project and how successful it is. I'm especially interested in the reception of Game Badges from the industry. Do they find it useful?
Yeah. So Game Badges is about mapping the key competencies needed in the game industry and providing a way to validate these competencies in a creditable way. And it's a long story, which I will tell a little bit later. But the idea is that for students, for example, usually it is that there's 20 to 40 students in one classroom and each of you will get the same diploma. But with the help of Game Badges, you can separate from the crowd and show the special interest that you've had also outside of the schools. Game jams were mentioned many times, and it might be that you've been studying art-related field, but then you've done some production or business things. And with this new system, you can show that as well on top of your diploma. Yeah. And Pavel, maybe you can mention how the industry sees it.
Yeah, it's important to say that the project is right now in the middle. It's not a finished thing. It's got first results, which is mainly the competence map, which lots of schools that got in touch with it are quite happy about, and we got lots of positive feedback on that. And that was quite a big part of the first half of the project. So now this is the part that we are trying to explain it to the industry and bring it to companies. And we're working on it. It will take some time, but the goal is that this will be European-wide system that most of the companies are using. We got a couple of arguments why they should start using it, because it's, as Ria said, it could help the students to get a job or stand out of the crowd and stuff. But now we are explaining the companies how to incorporate it in their processes of the hiring processes, and how the HR could work with that, and how can evaluate their own already employees they got. And we are also got some things in works that should be interesting for the companies. In our case, the studios are still opening quite a lot of positions. They are still looking for new talent. We don't expect that this will disappear, and to have like standardized system that's European-wide should be quite beneficial, and companies listen to that. They understand that the hiring is an issue for them to find the right people for right position, and they basically looking for any opportunity that could help them solve this thing. So we are getting positive feedback on it, but the project is how to get it to the industry is a part of the second half of the project. So we are basically at the start of this thing, even though we already been working on it for 1.5 years. So we will see how it goes. We hope in maybe not even like at the end of the project, but within like next 3-5 years, it will become more and more often that the companies are actually in their job offers expecting that you have some micro-credentials and you got some badge from the expecting qualification.
I am absolutely fascinated by the scope of this project. I recommend everyone look up gamebadges.eu. There are two major components. One part is the badges, the micro-credentials that can be issued by an institution. You could include in your portfolio like a badge that certifies your completion of a particular level of competence. But even if you don't want to use badges, you should have a look at the competence map that stands behind it. Like they outlined the scope of skills for particular job roles, like audio designer, narrative designer, programmer, etc. When you look up the role, it shows you a skill set, mandatory skills you should have in this role, and optional, which makes sense to have. And each of these skills is then broken down into 3 levels of competence, like bronze badge equivalent of junior, silver badge equivalent of mid-level, and gold badge as equivalent of senior level. When you look inside, you can see precisely what kind of tasks you should be able to complete at a particular job role. Ria and Pavel are involved in the project. Tomasz and Piotr are not, so I wanted to ask you, are you interested? Would you like to implement game badges or the competence map in your education?
Potentially. Obviously at the universities there's a lot of red tape and decision makers above, but I just want to say that such a credential system for continuous professional development, CPD, is very popular in UK with credentials that you can see on LinkedIn, for instance, by Microsoft, Unity, different smaller organizations like Limit Break, which is more about inclusivity and so forth. And I would say any credentials that you can get, any qualifications you can get that make you stand out from other students will help you down the line to get a job, because you show you went above and beyond, that you were proactive rather than reactive, and it's just benefit. You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, it sounds good, but I think it's have to be changed a little bit, the mentality, the programs of the studies, but I think it's possible to mapping the students' outcome to that, so potentially it sounds good, yeah.
Okay, and now let's move on to, well, the major topic. We have 15 minutes left. I knew it's not enough time for 4 people. I'd like us to address the problem that was already discussed in the previous panel. The current employment crisis, massive layoffs in the game industry. We know that they didn't affect all countries equally. Like Pavel tells us that the Czech Republic is like the green island, unaffected by the crisis. But the problem I want to discuss is still rooted in the education sector. Because most of us, most of you, have worked on educational programs that were established a few years in the past. If you were creating educational programs before 2023, we were designing them for an industry that was chronically understaffed, that was in demand of more people. We had no problems back then finding internships for students. and many interns were hired immediately. And all these educational programs were designed to capitalize on this understaffing of the industry. But it all changed in the recent years. So how do we adapt, or how should we adapt as educators? Should we just continue with the programs that were developed in the golden years, hoping that, okay, now students will need to work harder, it will take longer for them, but eventually they will make it? Or should we change the approach to education? Tomasz, I remember you had figures, how many graduates of game programs leave university in the UK and how many new jobs are being created in the industry. What was the mismatch?
Okay, on one hand, in my defense, I'll use words by Professor Bogusław Wolniewicz, who believes that higher education is a car park for unemployed, that you're just pushing can down the line. I'm not good enough to enter job industry, so let me study bachelor's. Oh, it's not better, let me do master's. Oh, it's not better, let me do PhD. With that note, the problem is in the UK, from what we had as statistics from Into Games, which is one of our charity helping working class people enter industry, that the number of graduates entering, it's 5 to 8%. Big factor with it is every year we do have in UK something like 14,000 students on just game courses. It doesn't count computer science, that's additional 86,000 students. The size of British game industry as game dev was 27,000 people, including all associated is like 40. So we're talking every year you have a replacement rate of 25%. Yes, I do know we have burnout. Yes, we have a lot of problems in the industry, but not to those numbers. Like, it's not sustainable. And I'm a strong believer that people should educate themselves because they're passionate about the thing and they really want to deepen their understanding of the thing, not think at university as a stepping stone to industry. There are people working in games who have degrees in sports science, in forestry, in care. They just pivoted with years of experience as managers, artists, doing it as a hobby. On the same side, some people, like myself, I'm dyslexic, neurodiverse, being in a structured environment of university can help my learning and understanding. So there are perks of going to university and not being self-taught.
Okay, but my question goes maybe to any of you, if you have a good answer. How do you adapt, or how should we adapt if you have programs designed for a different, welcoming job market, and now the job market looks differently? What do you do? I can tell you because I'm sort of lucky that I run a new program that was designed already with the awareness of the crisis. But if I were to adapt an existing program, I don't know what I would do. What's your perspective?
I want to say something. It's interesting that when the crisis starts, we have a lot of candidates for the studies. Before the crisis, we have the problem to get the students for the second degree, for the master degree, because they prefer go to the work and not start the studies. Now, when they need to adapt to the market to learn more, so they go to the second degree, they start the master. And I think that it's very important what you said, that it's something more that you study. It's not only to adapt to the market, but also to develop yourself. So, of course, we all the time we change the program to be attractive for the students, but I think that always crisis in game dev, in IT, brings a lot of students that they want to learn more.
Yeah, in Finland at one point it was that every higher educational institute that had something to do with IT or coding or something like that had a huge enthusiasm to start their own game development courses and offer minimum of 15 study points of those type of studies. And it was kind of like something that would separate them from the others and get applicants in, even though they didn't provide the whole program designed to game studies. But now, during the crisis or after it, those have shut down, because usually it's also that you need specialized people to run those courses. And when the money is tight and when it's kind of like difficult to get the students their internships or jobs after graduating, the amount of those opportunities have gone down. So yeah, that's one. And in those schools that have dedicated programs related to game design, I think at the moment it's that they highly encourage the students to the entrepreneur side, so that they would start their own companies and do their internship in their own companies or in their company founded by a student friend. So that is kind of like, it's mandatory for them to graduate to do the internship, and sadly that is almost one of the only ways to do that if you want game industry specific experience, because the companies are not taking in interns at the moment.
So in our case, first, we don't see that problem that much. To tell some numbers, we have, so obviously we are way smaller country and also a smaller industry than in UK. So it's like two factors combined. So right now in the Czech games industry works like 2,700 people or 2,800 compared to 35,000 or something.
Yeah, like 1/10.
Yeah, it's less than 1/10, but we are 10 times smaller country or 8 times smaller or something. So yeah, 2,800, let's say, people working in the industry right now. The companies in last like year, they open around 400 to 500 new positions, and we definitely don't have enough graduates for that. So we don't see that problem. Anyway, of course, it was mentioned in the earlier panel that quite a lot of these positions are for seniors, and yeah, companies are looking for experienced people quite heavily. Even in a junior positions, they are requiring some level of experience and stuff. And that was already said. That's like the opportunities to try to succeed on your own, to go the entrepreneurial way. And we would like to see that more among at the schools, that they explain them this path, or I don't know, somehow push on the students this path, because starting your company, starting with your project, you probably work on the project at the school and finish the project, release it, have some legal entity behind it. Of course, it's risky. It's crazy big risk, and you probably struggle financially doing that. But at the time of your studies and just after graduation, it's the perfect time to take these risks. Later in your life, it will be harder and harder to take them. If there is any time to take the risk, it's when you are in your 20s. So I would definitely recommend to try it, especially if you see that there are not that many job opportunities at the established studios. And on one hand, it's a risk, yes, and it's a very unsafer path, and it won't earn you that much as if you get employed. But you are also not entirely losing, because you are still getting the experience. You are improving yourself on the job market, and you will be more valuable, or like better chances to get hired later on if you fail the entrepreneurial path. So on one side, it's not that risky. So I would totally recommend to at least thought about it. And this is one of the problems that we see in the Czech games industry. There is not that many startups being created, and we are trying to improve the environment. And as was mentioned, in terms of like adapting the courses, I don't see that as like reason for it. I think studying game development is very it creates opportunities for you in other industries as well. It's like a good thing to study. It's not just that you are bound to be a game developer in the end. You will learn lots of great stuff applicable in other industries as well. So I would suggest to schools to go full on game development.
Thank you. Our time has officially run out, and we didn't even start the last talking point.
If I can just quickly add something from Pavel about taking risk. Can I have show of hand? Did anyone know about Space War from 1960s? First game that inspired Atari? Okay, 2 people. No, keep your hands up. I want to make experiment, okay? Counter-Strike? Some more people, okay? Portal? More people, yeah? Baba Is You? Okay, some people as well, right? Super Hot? All of those games were made by students. Each one of them.
Yeah,
It's your time to shine. It's your time to take risk. Be creative. Just do it.
And my final thought, we don't have time to talk about it, but we discovered a potentially hidden power we have in Poland at universities in the form of student clubs, like students' university associations. We discovered that in Finland, they don't have student activity on this level because the role of organizing game jams, meetings with industry experts is filled in by IGDA, mostly. In the UK, you had Taiga, you had Grads in Games, like NGO organizations taking care of this kind of connections between university and the industry. In Poland, a lot of great work is carried out by student clubs, and so far as educators, as we are looking for partners, we always tended to overlook, or we didn't see student clubs as an important stakeholder. I think there is a time to change that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Game Industry Conference was started by students at university. Have a look where it's now, 20 years later.